Chris Tucker didn't want to be the poster child for smoking weed. He don't smoke weed like that.
Right.
He in the church. The Chris Tucker that we got now is Epstein Island Chris Tucker.
Oh, Lord.
Not Smokey.
Oh, Lord.
You knew Jeffrey Epstein, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. We flew Bill Clinton and a lot of different, that was a humanitarian trip to Africa.
And Katt Williams is targeting Chris Tucker, again since his name was found in some freshly found documents related to the island. Chris has been talking a lot lately about his faith and how it led him to distance himself from Hollywood, as some of you are probably aware. He reportedly turned down a $10 million role in the Friday movie because of the marijuana and vulgarity. Katt, though, is hinting at something deeper. That beneath his religious convictions, Chris might be hiding anything else. And why would a top-tier professional make choices that just don't make sense unless there's a reason no one is talking about? Let's analyze it. Recall how Chris Tucker said that this new Chris was not the same. Chris from the 1990s when Katt Williams randomly called him out on Club Shay last year? Then, as if to suggest that Chris might be compromised, Katt brought up that island.
The Chris Tucker that we got now is Epstein Island Chris Tucker.
Oh, Lord.
Not Smokey.
Oh, Lord.
Whew. If I didn't know no better, I'd tell you he's the greatest. I don't care what you say.
But what did Katt intend by this? Moreover, what was the initial connection between Chris Tucker's name and the Jeffrey E. affair? It all started when Chris went on a humanitarian trip to Africa in the early 2000s on the infamous Lolita Express jet. When asked lately about that journey, he said he had no idea who owned the plane or the challenges he was facing at the time.
Jeffrey Epstein, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. We flew Bill Clinton and a lot of different, that was a humanitarian trip to Africa.
Yeah.
And I met him on that trip because it was his plane. I didn't know who plane we was getting on, but it was a whole bunch of dignitaries who was with a delegation. And yeah, I met him, and you don't know people, what they do in their private lives, so.
Chris shrugged the subject aside and promptly put an end to the rumors that he had flown to that Caribbean island.
He was on this private plane, and you could tell that it was a private plane because they called it, was it Lolita Express?
Oh yeah, it was a private plane, yes. Oh yes.
But wait a minute, you didn't never go to that island, did you?
No. I don't know where that thing at.
But a lot of people thought Chris's answer was odd since they didn't understand why he laughed when he was questioned about the island. We all know of the heinous things that have happened to that whole circle. The fact that he joked about it seemed odd. Now, as mentioned on page 6, as part of that humanitarian travel in 2002, Chris and others spent a week in South Africa visiting AIDS project sites. Things start to get murky at this point. Later in a documentary, one of the female crew members on the flight, Shantae Davies, described a horrific incident that happened on board. Shantae then told The Sun about flying with Chris and other people on that humanitarian mission to Africa, and the boy received photos of Chris shot during that trip. Meanwhile, social media has only started to share this picture of Chris standing next to Jeffrey's longtime housekeeper, Jojo Fontanaya. It is unknown how so many well-known celebrities ended up in the same area at the same time. That's serious. Crimes are being committed, so even though Chris Tucker has not been charged with any role in this case, his affiliation with that controversial group raises questions. Shall we presume that none of them knew what was going on? Opinions among fans vary on this. While some are skeptical and think Chris might have been too scared to talk about what he saw on that trip, others assume that Chris may have been more engaged than he has ever admitted. This is where things become complex, though. Grow much more fascinating. Chris has recently talked a lot about his faith and said that his religious beliefs played a big role in his choice to quit Hollywood. For instance, Ice Cube claims that Chris turned down a $10 million role in the Friday movie because he didn't want to be in a movie that featured profanity and marijuana use. In response to a social media user who questioned whether Chris Tucker quit the Friday series for financial gain, Ice Cube stated, "We were ready to pay Chris Tucker $10 to $12 million to do next Friday, but he turned us down for religious reasons. He had had enough of cursing and using marijuana in front of the camera." Chris has also been more forthcoming about his spiritual development, talking about how his faith has helped him grow both personally and professionally.
I always knew God had his hands on my life, even though, and he showed me my purpose. Yeah, man, it's just, God just, was opening doors, closing doors. But now as a man, my spirituality really helps me maneuver through life in a huge way, man. Think big decisions I have to make, challenges to go through. I have a foundation that I put it in God's hand. I don't try to do everything myself.
But this is where things become complicated. Some fans and critics are starting to wonder if Chris is concealing his religious beliefs. Is his faith being accepted as it is? Or is he hiding it to avoid being criticized for his past relationships with all those questionable people? In the First Friday movie, Cat Williams seemed to be mocking the Chris he knew by claiming that he was a different person, implying that this new religious Chris was the same Chris who went to that island. Chris still hasn't responded to Cat. Furthermore, he doesn't seem interested in getting involved in any industrial conflicts. But the real question is, did Chris go from the industry because he is truly on the spiritual path and is trying to distance himself from all the negativity? Or is he using religion as an easy way to avoid accountability? On the one hand, some fans believe Chris may have simply seen too much in Hollywood, and perhaps even during that flight. Chris was shaken by what he witnessed, even though he may not have done anything wrong. The blackmail, the parties, and the people. That could have been enough to make him want to cut all ties. "I think Chris," remarked one admirer. When he learned that the man was a PDF file, he admitted that he was flying for what he thought were humanitarian purposes. Nothing in Chris's past points to him being at fault, and he doesn't seem to enjoy that. Another individual responded, "Honestly, him knowing about the island would explain his absence from the silver screen for so many years." The individual was dissatisfied with Hollywood and decided to keep quiet to avoid being capped. The same reason that Tori Grace left the show in the 1970s, because of Danny Masterson. And that would explain why Chris has such a strong religious bent. He didn't want to get sucked into that industry, and maybe religion was the only way he could separate himself from its evil.
I admire the fact that you're living your life right and setting a good example. And you go to church a lot.
Oh man, every Sunday, every chance I get, man. You live in LA, young, I'm black, I'm rich. I gotta have God on my side, man. The devil want me, man.
Yes, but you do, right? You go with your family. You have a church here that you go to?
Yeah, I go to church, man. You should come with me, man. You gotta come
You
with
don't want
me.
me to go to that.
Come on, George. One Sunday, man. You can blend in. You look black already, man. Come on, I heard you was black.
But the reverse is also true. According to many, Cat Williams was hinting that Chris could not have been an innocent spectator, but rather that he had joined the wrong set, become tainted, and is now hiding behind religion to avoid attention. A member on X shared a screenshot from the infamous Black Book, claiming it proved Cat was right and that Chris had not only flown on that plane but also visited that island. There must have been guys there too, because Cat had also mentioned that Michael Jackson's name was on those unencrypted documents, someone else pointed out. Michael Jackson would have shown up for no other reason. I'm looking at Chris right now. Tucker is funny since they were such good friends. Since his marriage abruptly ended, we haven't seen Chris in a committed relationship with a woman. It makes one wonder what his actual inclination is. You have two different viewpoints on the same story as a result. Either Chris observed something terrible and retreated to protect himself, or he was complicit and is now hiding behind religion. Now tell me what you think. Was Chris so terrified by what he saw that he decided to quit the business and become a religious man? Or do you think he's lying about the trip for humanitarian reasons? Remember to watch the next video and post a comment below.